All right, Pennsylvania Congressman Joe Sestak continues to insist that the Obama administration offered him a job to bow out of the Democratic Senate primary. Now, at this point, we face one of two possibilities. Either Sestak, a Democratic nominee for Senate, is lying, or the White House is lying and may have committed a crime. Now, to figure it out, let's go all the way back to the beginning on February 18th. Now, Sestak told Philadelphia radio talk show host Larry Kane that the White House had offered him a job. Now, Kane asked, quote, "Is it true that you were offered a high-ranking job in the administration in a bid to get you to drop out of the primary against Arlen Specter?" Sestak responded, yes, but he refused to specify what job. Now, since then, Sestak's story has remained unchanged. He appeared on this network the following day, and he said this.
I was asked a direct question yesterday, and I answered it honestly. There's nothing more to go into. I'm in this race now.
All right, now on March 10th, he sat down with our own Brett Baer and repeated the accusation. Let's look at this.
Did the White House offer you a job to not get in the primary?
And I answered that yes. And I answered it honestly. But to go beyond that, Brett, doesn't serve any purpose.
Was it Navy Secretary?
As I said, there's nothing to be gained by focusing on this politics stuff.
All right, now, meanwhile, the White House did its best to sidestep all questions surrounding the issue. On March 11th, reporters, well, they started to get frustrated with Propaganda Minister Robert Gibbs.
Last Tuesday, you told us, I don't have the update with me on Sestak.
Yeah,
Two things have happened since then.
I don't have any.
Send a letter to the White House counsel.
I don't have anything additional on that.
Are you ever going to have anything additional on that?
I don't have it today.
All right, now last week, Sestak defeated Arlen Specter in the Pennsylvania Senate primary, and he repeated his accusation again on Meet the Press over the weekend.
Yes or no, straightforward question. Were you offered a job, and what was the job?
I was offered a job, and I answered that.
You said no, you wouldn't take the job. Was it the Secretary of the Navy? Was it the Secretary of the Navy job?
Anything that goes beyond that is for others to talk about.
All right, now Sestak's victory turned the tables on the White House. The administration is now forced to either back the Democratic nominee or accuse him of lying. Well, Robert Gibbs, he decided to admit Sunday that, well, maybe the White House did have a little chat with Mr. Sestak.
I'm not a lawyer, but lawyers in the White House and others have looked into conversations that were had with Congressman Sestak, and nothing inappropriate happened.
All right, so who's lying here? Joining me now with reaction to all of this is Sestak's opponent in the November Senate election, former GOP Congressman Pat Toomey. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks
or should I say Senator?
Sean. Well, not yet.
All right, the White House lawyers looked at it. This is nothing to worry about here.
Oh, well, I beg to differ on that. And as I've suggested, you know, Joe Sestak and I fundamentally disagree on just about every policy issue of the day. He's got a 100% voting record with Nancy Pelosi, supports the whole big leftward lurch agenda. That's what we ought to be talking about, but this has become a big distraction. So I think he ought to come clean, clear the air, be forthcoming.
All right, I read your statement from yesterday. It sounded benign to me. And you said he should come clean. We should talk about the issues that matter. And I thought it would be, if it was my opponent, I think I'd be a little stronger. I think I'd say one of the two is lying. Either he offered a job or wasn't offered a job. Now, David Axelrod said that this would constitute, Axelrod's words, a serious breach of law. Is this politics or is this about law?
Well, you know, if Joe is going to be the man of principle that he says he's going to be in this campaign, I think he would be more forthcoming, and I've said so, and I think he ought to do that.
Right. All right. So he's admitted that they offered him a job. He said it repeatedly.
Right.
Okay. So now the question is, he won't tell the people of Pennsylvania or the country what job was offered. So is that what he needs to come clean on?
I think he should relay this conversation. Who did he have a conversation with, and what was he offered? And then let the chips fall where they fall. If a crime was committed, then we ought to know that, and we ought to pursue that. And if it doesn't rise to that level because of the nature of the conversation, okay, then we can put this all behind us and focus on the important issues we ought to be focused on.
If, in fact, what Sestak is saying is true, and they offered him a job, a high-ranking job, to get out of this primary, you know, you've been reading all about it. I'm sure you're following more closely than anybody. Do you see any legal issues?
Yes, it seems to me if it actually transpired that way, there is a federal statute that forbids offering a job in return for political favors.
Yeah. All right. Now, Eric Holder is actually saying no special counsel.
Well, you know, they're making it hard to get to the bottom of this, aren't they?
Well, they're refusing to appoint a special counsel. Darrell Issa is asking for one in this particular case. Do you think at some point they're going to have to come clean, or does Robert Gibbs get to do his dance for another, 5 months?
I think it's looking increasingly like there's something that they're trying to hide, and if they would come clean on this, I think we'd all be better off, and so hopefully that's what will happen, but I'm not sure what it'll take, Sean.
All right, we're going to get into the actual legal aspect of this. Do you think it would be possible, and I guess this is speculation on your part, that a high-ranking member of the Obama administration would be able to make an offer for a high-profile job to get Sestak out of the race without the president's approval? Is that possible?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how they're operating within the White House. I don't know what sort of chain of command they're following. I don't know. But it's a legitimate question.
Are we getting to the point, what did the president know and when did he know it?
If he knew anything about it, but apparently somebody at the White House did. They've acknowledged that a conversation occurred.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the differences. Pennsylvania, always a hard state for a Republican statewide to win. Why do you think that you have such a good shot this year? The polls have shown that you've done, so far, you've been doing pretty well.
We're doing great, Sean, and the fact is most Pennsylvanians understand that the federal government has gone off the tracks here. Way too much spending, huge growth in government, serial bailouts of failing companies, nationalizing whole industries, unprecedented deficits in debt, cap and trade, card check, government-run health care. And Joe Sestak supports that entire agenda, and his only criticism of the individual items on that agenda has been when they don't go far enough. That's not where Pennsylvania is. We need to get our fiscal house in order. We've got to get spending under control. We've got to create job growth in the private sector. As a guy who's a small business owner, I know how to do that. And I think Pennsylvania voters want that kind of change.
When we go back to when you challenged Arlen Specter when he was a Republican back in, 6 years ago?
Right.
A lot of establishment Republicans didn't support you. And you were by far the more conservative candidate.
That's true.
Then we saw what happened with Arlen Specter. What are your thoughts on Arlen Specter today?
Well, I think Arlen Specter stayed around a little too long. He could have gone out as a widely respected man for having spent a lot of time and given a lot of service. But he had to go for one more race, and I think he overstayed his welcome.
All right, Pat Toomey, we're going to be watching this race very, very closely. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Was there a violation of law here? Plenty more Hannity coming up straight ahead.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
If the Sestak scandal spins out of control, could it drive the anointed one out?